Thank you so much for being here for episode 2 of Griefed.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Now, I've known you for a while, and whilst I've known you, you have mostly been TOing, right, for Smash.
Mm-hmm.
But I know you have a history of playing before that. Would you enlighten me about your history in esports?
Yeah, for sure. Look, as I mentioned before, I wouldn't really call like esports as such because, I mean, so I come from the background of Super Smash Bros. Melee, where one of my best mates, Don B, Miles, he started playing in like 2014, 2015, and I was like, when you, like someone you care about, like one of your mates is super into something, and you're not, and it's really hard not to get kind of involved in it. I always used to like roast him, like, dude, how can you spend so much time playing like a children's party game? Like, how are you like so serious about this? And like, he set up a bunch of events back in the day, kind of like helped reignite the scene, put a little time and effort into it. And I was still very skeptical, but then slowly over time, like, sat down, played with him, kind of hung out with the people, got to know them, and like, really got invested in the scene and started really enjoying playing the game. And like, I still to this day think it's the best game ever made. It's flawed as fuck. Like, they cranked it out in sub 2 years or something like that after Smash 64. But the way the game was then and the way the game is now is like black and white. It's completely different.
Well, the meta's always growing still, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people are still innovating absolutely stupid shit with like Kirby and Pikachu and all that kind of stuff. Like, stuff that's not relevant to like the current game, but people are constantly innovating. So it's kind of crazy. So got into it through Miles, and then started attending local tournaments. They started springing back up. There was a big drought probably between 2012 to 2015, and then a documentary came out called, well, Super Smash Brothers. And it was really good, kind of reignited the scene. Heaps of people came back to it, reignited in Australia, and then majors started rolling through, and then people started attending more and more. And like, that was a snowball effect of getting more and more people involved. And the weirdest thing about it is you get so many different people from like different backgrounds and like environments, all that kind of stuff, all coming together to play this like one game. And the only way you could play it at that point in time was like in person on an old ass TV, like on a like shitty like Wii that's modded. Like, it was blood from a stone to even get the game going. But yeah, once that happened, got super into it, made a bunch of friends, and then like, yeah, from there it's kind of the rest is history. Started rolling through tournaments every week, twice a month kind of thing. Like, it was me, Miles, a bunch of our mates, like all the time. We'd always go out and party after and stuff like that. It became like really good mates. And then one day I'm like, well, I'm not super competitive like some people. Like, I mean, I've come to realize I am, but like, I never kind of dreamed of being number one and traveling the world and like competing with the best or anything like that. I was just kind of content trying to beat the kids here. So I'm like, how can I help out? Like, what can I do to kind of help with this? And then one day I'm like, can I help move TVs? Can I help pack up? Can I help like pack down or something like that? And yeah, kind of the rest is history from there. Just incrementally over time, kind of got more and more responsibility, helped organizing things from like a high level, and like, yeah.
And how long ago would that have been when you moved into TOing?
2015, 2016 or something like that.
Okay, so you've been doing it for a while.
Yeah, well, it's been a little while. Longer than some, less than others. But essentially, so I think it would have been, we have a series called City Melee. They're all based in the CBD and stuff like that. And I think I started like City Melee 5, but we've just hit like City Melee 20. And they used to be like a bi-monthly or a monthly tournament, and they kind of like changed over the years of like the format and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, always helped out with that. And from there, I got involved with Couch Warriors because Darren, aka DreadTech, he was kind of like the guy that got me into TOing. He was like the big daddy of FGC in Australia, kind of like, yeah, like the father. And yeah, he was really good at kind of like getting me involved on that front. And yeah, from there, like, he was heavily involved in Couch Warriors, so he asked me to kind of like help out on that front. And then like, because that's, Couch Warriors events have like every fighting game kind of under the sun, all in one venue kind of thing. So like, you walk in, you see some kids playing like some like anime fighting game, or you play Tekken or Street Fighter or whatever, and then you like Smash kids in the corner. But like, the newest Smash game always had by far the most amount of entrants, so that always kind of like had to bleed off into Melee, which was always kind of a cult classic. But for a really long time, we were like the second biggest game in all of Australian FGCs, especially major stuff like that.
Did most people start like with ulti and then move down into Melee, or was it opposite?
So a lot of it was back in Brawl, which came out in like 2008 or something like that. That had a lot of trickle on, and Melee was the good game, and Brawl was like, it had its scene, but it wasn't a great game. And then Smash 4 came out, and that had a huge amount of crossover in 2015, I think. And a lot of people like got back into Smash from there, but then they were like, this game kind of sucks. But then they'd see like us having heaps of fun at the venue, and people kind of like trickle over and like watch our top 8s, our finals, stuff like that, and be like, oh, this game's kind of sick. And that was a point in time when like Twitch was just starting to kick off in a really big way. So big streamers like Mango and like Leffen and stuff like that were kind of picking up. Tournaments were streamed, it was really hype. You had like more international kind of, I guess, engagement and stuff like that. And like that helped feed into the growth of the scene. And then only since then, accessibility has become more of a thing for the game. So yeah, I mean, accessibility has been a big thing for the game because, as I said, you have to like hack away. You have to play in people with IRL. But like now you can go home, boot up like an emulator, and then have like matchmaking with randoms all across the country. I connected with a kid from Singapore the other day, which is super random. Like they had horrible ping, couldn't actually play them or anything like that. But yeah. I mean, I can play with someone in New Zealand like they're sitting next to me, which was not a thing like 2 years ago.
Right, yeah, because I've only seen you guys doing that more recently.
Started in
online matchmaking.
Yeah, started in about February last year. There's a guy called Slippy. Wow. So like the actual program's called Slippy, but there's a guy called Slippy. He's like I don't want to get the country wrong, but he's a European like software dev, and essentially he innovated a way to create like a rollback matchmaking system himself. Wow. And then he implemented it on top of like a regular GameCube emulator. So it means, people can direct connect and then have like a matchmaking system. And
are there servers or do people connect off?
Direct connect.
Yeah, wow, okay.
Yeah, so really? they're like, it's, I don't know how the matchmaking works from a server perspective, but like it all pretty much like links together and you have peer-to-peer connection. That's how rollback works. Yeah, so it's super crazy. Like you can literally, you used to, like have to go out of your way, like search for queues, find people's codes, play them a really shitty lag thing, which is like 5 times worse than like LAN, but online, it's a completely different world now. Like
change the game, right?
Yeah, we're gonna keep. I mean, like I was playing a 14-year-old the other day, which I haven't seen in years. Like this game is 6 years older than a 14-year-old, and the kid found it like online by watching his favorite streamer. Like, and then he streamed it. Told people about Sleepy, and then they get on like the queues. They buy the game controller, they buy their adapter, and then they get the gaming.
Wow.
So the landscape's completely different to what it used to be, really.
So Millie clearly thrives in person, but as you said, there's now this online aspect. But is there still like a preference for in-person LANs where all your mates are around? Yeah,
it's been a kind of hot topic for ever since kind of Sleepy came out and the online became more and more viable. But essentially, the responsiveness and playing on LAN will never ever be like comparable. Like unless you're playing on a really shitty old CRT, like a TV, like that actually has inbuilt delay or anything like that, doesn't really kind of align. But nothing quite feel like the first set or like even the first friendlies I played like offline after lockdown, it was like night and day. Because like crazy thing is, Slippy came out the first week Melbourne went into lockdown.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Legitimately aligned. So like
That's
we went into the proper lockdown. I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna play the game again. It's so sick. It was awesome. But some people prefer, obviously, because like they get to sit in mom's basement, they don't have to deal with the crowd around them. Like you don't have to sit next to them. One of my favorite things about competing in LAN, and like every single person has to deal with, is like even if they're socially inept, super outgoing, you have to sit next to the guy you're gonna play, and like you can feel their body language. You can like see how they react. If like you hit them with something hard, people like reel back in their seats. Like you can feel their emotions.
That's so satisfying.
Dude, the craziest thing is like my favorite thing about LAN is probably like the emotion. You can like if you're spectating or like even engaging the crowds, like how people interact with each other in that kind of environment, and while things are like actively happening, it's so good.
What about when you're losing? How does that feel when you're sitting right next to the guy?
It depends on the person, really. Some people just get like super tilted. Some people don't feel that bad. Like some people get super embarrassed. Like you get to see the highest of highs. You get to see like some kid who's been grinding for 2 years beat like their demon, and like they get pop off, they celebrate. Pop offs are the best thing. Like people are rocking out of their chairs, they throw the controllers, they slap tables, all that kind of stuff.
I love the throwing of the controllers.
It's so good. But then there's the other side where people like lose and they spike. They literally just like rocket the controller like ground. My favorite, we have this thing called an Arcadian, which is like a beginners tournament. No ranked players. So we have top 10 in every state. No, like top 10 in every state can't enter these tournaments. So it's like a beginners tournament. But it's always the most serious tournament of the year because it's the time like the kids can win. Like it gives them the opportunity to like when they get to like prove themselves and stuff like that. So like everything's on the line. And this dude, his name, I'm actually not going to say his name, but he got upset. So he normally would come like 17th at a regular tournament. He came like 40 something at this tournament. And like I didn't see it at the time, but he got up off the setup, walk around this pillar. And this is when we were at Deskworks, which is like a co-working space. And you see this huge bang. And like come running around the corner and you see this like school plastic chair. Like, you know, there's like pretty like thick ones with like the metal rebars in the middle. This is probably like a 30 centimeter diameter hole in it. So this dude got off the setup after losing and just like hammer fisted this thing. Like no like.
Holy fuck, really?
Yeah, like no.
Oh my God.
No regard for anything else. Like just the pure emotion of like losing to some other gym and he's like bang. And like the craziest thing is, it's probably like a solid couple of centimeters of pure plastic, and you just put a fat like pizza hole in it.
Holy fuck.
Yeah. So that was a cool collab. Like that thing alone was. Like, it's not good to manage emotions like that in the grand scheme of things. Like I don't encourage or anything like that, but like seeing a raw emotion like that is actually pretty rare in like day-to-day life.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. Like it's funny, but it's
I feel
also
like
pretty cool.
a lot of esports is almost like manufactured to a level now, so you almost like don't see those reactions or they're not encouraged.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like Melee or Smash in general, or like any FGC, is so pure and raw, and you see the emotion right then and there. You have the crowd behind you right then and there. Like it's so, and the crowd is full of the people that you're versing as well. It's not just fans. Like
one of the
it's
coolest
gonna be
things.
Crazy.
Yeah, one of the coolest things about like playing on LAN, and especially we came from a background of like no online, is your region matters.
Yeah.
So like you'll have the 20 people you play like every other month in your area, and like you could hate them so much. Like you have like rivalries with all these people, but then you play someone from like, just for example, like Melbourne. Like you go to a major in Melbourne, plays Sydney.
Yeah.
And you're like, fuck Sydney. These guys are
Yeah,
lame. And like even the guy that you hate the most is competing against like someone else. Like even if you like them, you're like, sorry bro, like fucking Victoria's the
Melbourne,
best.
man.
Like fuck New South Wales. Like
suck.
it's real. I mean like so we run a bunch of like events here, and the one thing we always have is a salty suite. And we try and run that pretty much every major, and like that's when everyone who's talked that shit online, like every state that has had like beef with someone else, you do money matches and you do exhibition matches and stuff like that, and like people talk the most heinous shit.
Yes.
One of the things that really got me into like it's probably 2016, something like that. Queensland's always had a bone to pick with Vic. Like we've always had a pretty like healthy scene.
Yeah.
A lot of the scenes haven't. They've always had an issue. And there's just like this thing's always like in the back of my mind of like Queensland goes going, Vic sucks. And like that alone just made me like want to get better, so I could just fuck those guys.
Fuck on
Like,
Queensland. Yeah.
And then like we're all good friends now and stuff like that. But like when you travel, they're like you'll be playing one of their boys, and there's like 50 Queenslanders around you. It's just like two of the Victorian boys, and they'll all just be shouting, "Vic sucks!" Like losing their minds.
What does that feel like when you're like the only Vic in the room and you're just getting booed from behind?
Tilting, like it's definitely fucking tilting.
Yeah.
But like it's, you know, at the end of the day, it's not part of the game. Like nobody means ill.
Yeah, it's not
or anything
about
like
you
that.
specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean sometimes, but
Yeah, well,
yeah,
fuck it.
what can you do?
Yeah.
But yeah, like those experiences are actually so fucking funny. Seeing kids crumble, like one of the best things is like, you know, like you watch any competitive game or any sport, like, and you see people choke. You can see people physically choke.
Oh.
Like they cop a big hit and they like reel back in their seat and then they start playing sloppy, and then some guy like yells in the corner. They look at the guy when they should be playing.
Oh. And you've got the cams like on the streams. It is literally just you, and it's a big cam as well, just like right above where you're fucking playing.
Yeah.
I always laugh at the people like rubbing the sweat off because they're like, I'm always
People who have like the competitive sweat rags and shit now. Like,
yeah.
it's actually nuts. I mean, to be fair, like, because it's a pretty like high APM game.
Yeah.
And the controllers do get pretty like sweaty and grimy and shit. Like you do need to like rub off. And like when it's hot, we run a lot of events in here, and like you guys been here like a busy night. It gets dank.
It gets sweaty.
Yeah, and then when you have like 80 gamers all screaming, it's the most important tournament set of your life to date. And like, yeah, you're just sitting there like losing your mind.
Can't even fucking hold the controller.
Some kids sitting there in like 2 hoodies for absolutely no reason when it's like 30 degrees. It's too much. Yeah, like that's the kind of shit. Like, it's what one of the things that like keep me coming back is you get to see people's growth like as people as well. Like people have been coming for 6-7 years. One of our friends, Huey, I met him when he was 16.
Yeah.
He's now like 22. And like him going from like a little like child to like a grown goofy ass man. Like but going through
wing.
yeah, like going through a whole like evolution stuff like that. And a lot of time, like I mean, I'd see him as a peer, so like we're friends. But like seeing him grow from that point is just something crazy. Like you see a lot of the younger guys who are like 16, they go through VCE, they stop competing for a little bit, they come back when they're in uni, and like seeing how they grow through that and stuff like that is super cool. And then like even the older guys, I mean, a lot of them have been like, when I joined, they would have been like 28 or something like that. Now they're like early 30s, got a couple of kids, like married, they like still jump on Netplay, talk that shit, like get on Discord and all that kind of stuff. So it's super cool.
Something I've noticed with Smash, and especially the Victorian Smash community, is you guys are such a family. You guys are best friends. You hang out all the time outside of Smash events. And you guys even have your own like little accent that you speak to each other in. And I've never seen that before in esports. Do you think that's because it's a single player game and there is that camaraderie of it? Or what do you think like spawns that family that you guys have here in Victoria?
I mean, a lot of it came from, as I mentioned, like back before online and stuff like that. If you wanted to play the game and improve and stuff like that, you had to go to a man's
had to
house.
be there with them.
So, for example, like our group of friends is based off a place called like House of Chills, Hawk. It was just like a share house in South Melbourne from a bunch of boys that moved down from Wodonga to Melbourne. They played, and Bus was one of the main guys, and he just hosted. And like he'd just have gamers all hours of the night, all days of the week. He worked at Crown a couple of shifts a week, so like he'd be up at like 7 a.m. Some gamer would roll through at 8 a.m., hit the sticks for like 10 hours, and then just like sleep on his floor, play for another 10 hours, and bounce.
Yeah.
And, like that kind of like environment is, yeah, if you want to play the game, you like this is one of the only places you can go. So you like it doesn't matter who that person is. Like you're sitting on the setup because you want to play someone. Like you don't have matchmaking or anything like that. And like that kind of environment really kind of made a lot of enemies and like friends as well. But like you kind of start meshing with people, and then like a group starts forming around that, and like people keep showing up, and then people like incrementally come and go. People used to go, and then like new people start, and like then you go to a major, and like oh you hang out with my homie, like you're my homie now, and all that kind of stuff. And like I think that kind of stuff with the consistency of running consistent events, having similar people show up every week, having the bond of like a good game to play, which is really fun, just like off the cuff, outside the competitive side and stuff like that. It's like something you can all do together. It's I guess a bridge for a lot of people. Like all of us, like all of our mates and stuff like that, have like a very different background. We all come from different parts of Melbourne. We all like do different things for work and stuff like that. But like we do have like that one bond that kind of like brought us together. And it was the game, and it's just like lucky. Maybe not lucky, but like it's one of those things where people kind of form the bond via this. But like, yeah, as I said, like we have a family now. We got a huge like, friendship, and like that really bleeds into the rest of the group because people see how much we like spending time together and stuff like that. And then people like feel at home in an environment like that because people are having fun.
Yeah, that's how I felt. I remember first moving to Melbourne and knew some people down here, but I wanted to hang out with you guys so bad because you were all so kind and friendly, and you were just like, yep, come hang, you're part of the group immediately. I threw parties and you guys would bring setups and you'd just sit outside and we'd all have so much fun. And I remember getting invited to a couple of Randbats. Can you talk about the Randbats? Because they're at the they're hosted at like a
Masonic hall.
Yeah, tell me about that.
So like the stable, it's church for us in like Victoria Lease. In northern part of Brunswick, it's a place called the Masonic Hall. So you walk in, it's a big kind of like old hall, but it just has like the flags of like the Masonic forefathers and the clubs and stuff like that.
Old picture of the Queen when she's like 30.
You walk into the side room, there's like the wooden chair, it's like a throne, there's like a gavel on the side where they have, it's strange. They've always been great to us. And like that's been one of the like, I guess, foundations of like Victorian, at least in Australian FGC. For, I'd say coming over a decade or something like that.
Wow, really?
Yeah, but like that environment, because when Smash 4 came out, there were so many people there. We had to split like the FGC from Smash because there's way too many people to fit in the hall. So like you'd have an FGC-centric weekend, and you'd have a Smash-centric weekend. And it got to the point where like some people didn't really want to compete that much, but they want to hang out with their friends. So people kind of come through and hang out and stuff like that. And someone would crack a beer, and then you're like standing in the car park, a couple people having beers, hanging out. Then the super serious guys are like competing inside, and like you can kind of intermingle and like everyone bonds together and stuff like that. It's a really cool, unique thing. Like I would have never hung out with 99% of people that sure have like walked up to those things.
Yeah.
And I'm convinced like Smashes, like if you walk down the street, you don't see Smashes. You don't see the kind of like game that they are. Like it's so strange. Like yeah, you can walk through Melbourne Central or something like that, and you won't see someone who is a Smash. But then you go to the Rambat, and it's like the biggest congregation of ruthless gamers you've ever seen in your life. And like I love each and every one of them because yeah, I mean, it's something special. Like, yeah, it's crazy. At
the Randbats, is it just Melee, or do you hang out with the ulti boys too, and they compete as well?
Yep. So when Smash 4 came out, like as I said, like we kind of split from Smash and FGC.
Yeah.
So they stuck Melee with like Ultimate because it was the same game, or that's what some people thought or whatever. But they're two like very different kind of scenes, very different like age groups, very different backgrounds.
Are a lot of the ulti boys younger?
For the most part, yeah. The way I've always kind of seen the Ultimate, like Smash 4 Ultimate community, like the modern kind of Smash games is, a lot of them are either A, younger, B, just Nintendo gamers.
Okay.
Like you'll see some kids in there like play a set and then like whip out the Nintendo DS or like the Switch out of his backpack and just like get down playing some Pokemon.
Whereas the like Melee boys all kind of hang around and have a beer or something, right?
We have like people on both sides. I mean, like a lot of the Ultimate boys like love a session, have a good time as well. Like on that front, but like generally speaking, you'll see a kid wearing a Legend of Zelda T-shirt more frequently from the Ultimate side than you would from the Melee side, kind of thing. Like for better or worse, like it is what it is.
And have you hung out with any of the ulti boys much?
Yeah, absolutely. because like you spend all the time in the same environment, and like TOs will hang out with other TOs and stuff like that. Like one of my peers, Jack Gorman, like Stacks Pudge, he's like the head of Ultimate, has been for years. He's current president of Couch Bros.
Okay.
And he was before I was as well. Yeah, he's been around for ages, and like me and him get along really well. And like, I think one of the first times we actually hung out properly was we went to one of the majors in Queensland called Sunnyside Up. And there's only 3 Victorian Melee boys there. We're staying in some like shit hostel just down the road from the Forex Brewery.
Yeah.
Yeah, as you do, right?
Yep.
Absolutely despised Forex up into that trip, and now it's actually one of my favorite drinks.
Really?
Just fun fact.
I've never been into it. Queenslander, not really into Forex.
The most, yeah, it's amazing. As far as shit beers go.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically.
Yeah, I respect it.
Yeah, so like we went to the venue, like hung out for a while, and like for whatever reason, this is like August, so it's winter, like it's not even like nice weather. For whatever reason, like us 4, it might have been driven by me, like opted to not enter the tournament for Melee, and we're just like, you know what, boys? Let's go to Dreamworld. I'm like, fuck it, we'll go to Dreamworld. And so we were hanging out on the Friday night, just like playing friends and stuff like that. And the old boys like, oh, let's go out, like we'll just get everyone together. And they've always been really good at just like snowballing, like 10 of them would start yelling. Then 20 of them start yelling. And you have like 40 gamers just kind of like yelling, walking out of the venue.
Screeching, right?
Yeah, bits and pieces. And like that migrate to like the next venue. And for whatever reason, they are the most like, a lot of them are like the most, I guess like one of the core groups, most like degenerate, they're just giga gamers, but they have like very degenerate tendencies. Like they love like getting smashed, partying, gambling, all of that kind of stuff. Like they run a local at Zen Gaming in South Melbourne called EBS. And after EBS, a group of them will always go Crown and just fax all of their money. Even if they're like 18, they'll use their Centrelink or whatever, just like fucking fax it in. And we learned like cult classic from them where like, so the 4 Melee boys from Victoria, hanging out with these guys, we're bouncing from tab to tab as we do in Queensland. And I remember we were at the bar and like, you see this screaming, like this absolute screaming from the other side of the venue. So we kind of like hurry around and see what's happening. And there's just a group of like 10 Ultimate boys standing around this one like pokes machine, like just playing slaps. They love the slaps. And they just, you just hear like super pokies, and they're just screaming. And we walk over like, all right, what the fuck is this? Like, all right, do you have any notes on you? And it's like, yeah, sure, I got $20. Like, all right, cool, feed in the machine. And like they looked at Jack, who was with us, like, feed 20 in the machine. And they made everybody put in like $20 to $50 each, like all 15 of us. And Super Pokies is where like you feed in as much cash as you have as a group, and then everyone takes a slap.
Oh, fuck yeah.
So you just like in turn, just like slap, scream. And like when a feature pop like comes up, everyone loses their minds. And like you feel bad for like all like the old codgers and stuff like that. It's like hanging out the slaps, just like a bunch of games like losing their nut. So yeah, like that was probably like the first time like I had a proper integration with those guys, and yeah, it's just like ever since then been like really tight bond. I mean, Super Pokies changes, man. Like let's be honest.
Yeah.
It's a bonding experience like no other.
What about firefighting?
Firefighting is a bit so. It's one of those things. It's one of those things where it's like a bit of an offshoot. Like as I mentioned before, you get people coming from all different backgrounds and Smash and stuff like that. Turns out this guy Deeks, I actually worked with him in hospitality before he got into Smash.
Oh yeah.
And then like, he rocked up to like a Rambo one day. I'm like,
what up? Yeah.
Turns out he's Australia's just waste man. Yeah. So like him and his boys just always like they're the guys you always hear stories about, but you kind of like, oh yeah, okay. And I remember he rocked up to the tournament one day and he had scars all over his knuckles, like up and down his hands. And I'm like, bro, what happened? He's like, you know, you don't want to worry about that. It's fine. And we're like, no, really, what happened? He's like, oh, you know, like, we were just punching fires, man. I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, you know, just fucking, just laying into a log, man. You just fucking throw a haymaker at the fire. Like, it is what it is. And like, you're so nonchalant about it. I'm like, what the fuck do you mean? And yeah, apparently him and his boys just get blackout and they like, just box fires.
Yeah.
So you like punch a redwood log as hard as you humanly can, and people just like...
Yeah, so then you guys went down that path and did it
I mean,
yourself.
it's just something that stays in your mind, right? Like... Could I punch a fire? Like, is that me?
I reckon I could.
Yeah, then we had a trip, I think it was after the last lockdown last year, and a bunch of people went away and built a fire and really got at it.
Built the shit out of it. And
I've realized, like, my bones aren't conditioned for punching redwood logs and stuff like that, but,
Weird.
I mean, look, it's a cathartic experience.
Yeah.
It's just you and the fire in that moment, and it's an experience I'll never forget.
Nice. That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Smash Summit 12 is coming up. What about close friends? Joshman? Sora, Joji, he's going over, and he did a huge campaign for that, right?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So for Smash Summit, it's run by Beyond the Summit. They, it's been like 12 of them now, but like I can't tell you how many years, like 4 or 5, something like that. The way it's always worked is they've done direct invites for like the top 6 best players in the world. Like it's changed incrementally over the years. What they did this time was invited 6 people, ran their own major, and the top 6 qualifiers of that got invited, and then like the back end 5, so top 5 of that, back end 5 had to get in through campaigning. So one of the main models for Beyond the Summit, and the way like they could fund these events and kind of give them prize pool and all that kind of stuff, was via campaigns, which is really strange because essentially it's a popularity contest. We have to get people to like accumulate points via like either buying merchandise or donating directly or like all of these bits and pieces to gather points. And like they stagger it out through stages. So like one person will get on the first day, third day someone will get in, fourth day someone, so on and so on. But yeah, there's always been this like super grimy strats behind it, like where people accumulate as many points as possible into a spirit bomb and they drop it last second, kind of like bidding for something on eBay. Like, you know when you get sniped and it's the worst feeling in the world? It's kind of like that. So everyone comes up, and this is like number 12, so it's been around for a while. So people have been coming up with like schemes and campaigns for like ages and ages, and there's different strats that are really effective. Like a lot of them is just like, I'm friends with this rich guy. You really don't want to like, you can drop 50k, but he's going to drop 70. Do you want to risk it kind of thing? So we ran a good campaign for Josh.
Yes, can't. You're shit. You're shit. Hi. Joshua Lyris Gaming here.
Mind Freak, his sponsor, pitched in really well. Like Melbourne Melee, we partnered with them. We did a merch run. It's really cool. We created like custom color with it, put it on like windbreaker t-shirt, hoodie, all that kind of stuff. And then like all of the proceeds of that went towards his campaign. A bunch of us got VIP tickets to the event because every spend over $100 was triple points. So a bunch of us are going to go over to support him at the actual event. Super cool. Flying out to the US for a weekend. It's kind of crazy, but
when are you flying out? In a couple of days,
Wednesday.
Right?
We're going on Wednesday.
And today's Monday.
So we're going to go over to support him, fly for a couple of days, hopefully not get too jet lagged, scream for our boy.
Fuck yeah.
And people are going to witness the talent he has. It's going to be awesome.
And he had so much community support, right? Like I feel like all of Australia got behind him.
Internationally as well. I mean, people like all over the world got behind him. Josh is a very unique person where we've had top players before. We've had Spud. Amazing player, like one of the best. People are still asking where is he and stuff like that. He's hard retired, by the way. Shout outs. So he got into the Summit 8, I think. And it was the same. It was the same strat where like Spirit Bomb first round got him straight in, and Spud's always been like known as an excellent player, like always kind of respected from his gameplay. But like Josh will walk into a room, and you'll look at the kid like that nobody's talking to, and you'll literally just go talk to him. And like he's so good at engaging with each and every person. Like it is local scene. He went back for a local just before he left, and like there's been footage of him just like literally talking to every single person. Like the way he engages with people and people engage with him. Like he's the best player in the country, and also like an organizer, and also a community figure, and like and. So that kind of thing like really resonates with people, and like that alone helped people like internationally even get behind him, because like he went to the US a couple of years back, and like the short impact he had on those guys like made them back him over like people from their area.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah. That's such a testament to Joshman. He's such a beautiful man.
Yeah.
I know
he's a ruthless gamer.
Oh, absolutely.
A ruthless gamer.
I know he is.
It's not something. He's an animal.
Truly. And he's now going to like live in the US for the next year to try and do Smash, right?
Yep. So California has historically been the strongest region for Melee, and like I'm not sure about Ultimate, but like at least Melee. It's had the highest like density of top players. Like for example, they have like top 20 players in their region. 9 of them are like top 30 in the world kind of thing. Like just for an example. So if you want to, it's kind of like the hyperbolic timeshare. Like where you want to go to play the best people, like that's probably the best bet thing. And then a bunch of majors are hosted over there. Genesis is coming up in January. Which is super cool.
And a whole bunch of your group is going over for that, right?
So I think there's probably like 15, 20 Australians going for Genesis.
Wow, really? Oh my god, I didn't know it was that many.
Big group. Yeah. So Genesis is like it's kind of like the international, the world's of Melee, at least. So that's happening in January in Northern California. We're all going over for that. And one of the whole kind of premises of like Josh going over and like Don B going over and Sock going over is to like compete at Genesis and compete at all the different majors, stuff like that, and kind of like really test themselves and stuff like that.
Yeah, and like put Australia on the map for
Yeah, absolutely.
Smash, right?
Absolutely.
And do you think they'll do well? Like, do you think Australian Smash stands up to Smash around the whole world?
So previously, not in the same respect. I mean, Spud was an absolute anomaly. He got ranked like 37th or something like that.
Wow.
I think it was top 40.
Yeah.
Pretty sure. It's been a little while. But yeah, he was fantastic. But for context, Sock 2 years ago, who wasn't even like, he's second on the PR in Australia now, like power ranking in Australia now. He came 65th out of over 1,000 competitors.
Did he really?
2 years ago.
God, yeah.
So like, Sock 2 years ago, not even being like top 5 in the country kind of thing, like definitively.
Placed very fucking well overseas.
Yeah, and like we've been hearing little snippets here and there of Josh being there now, doing pretty well against the field. So
really,
it's a wait and see game, and it's one of those things where like no matter what happens, it's just gonna be insane.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, isn't that the dream to like go overseas and play your fucking favorite game and give it a go?
Absolutely, and like one of my favorite things about like Smash, it's like traveling to majors all around like Australia. Like everyone kind of bonds, as I said, like community's really strong. But like being majors, everyone is screaming in crowds for dumb shit. Like we had BAM, Battle Arena Melbourne, is the biggest Australian major. And that's when like the Australians get to play against the field. We have internationals coming down.
Yeah, a lot of people come over for BAM, right?
Yeah. So we had the best player in the UK come over a couple of years back, and Josh beat him. And like the vibe in the crowd was absolutely insane. Like it was kind of like a tick box of just like, yes, we can actually do it.
Yep.
Like this is a thing. And like, people lost their fucking minds. Like it's never been like in a crowd more. Like there's stills. Like there's stills like that crowd, like the expression, like you can look at each and every individual face, and there's so much emotion behind all of it, seeing it happen.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah, like Zai, like when Josh beat him, he got off the setup, and Zai was sitting there just like wiping his eyes. He took his glasses off, like wiping his tears away.
That's so lovely.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Would that be one of your favorite moments in Smash ever, or do you have a specific one?
No, I think it's one of those things where like so many good times have been had. So many majors, like even if it's like local gym versus local like John, like it's like a thing like you can always get behind it, and it's always like when you have a group of people around finals or whatever, it's like there's always stakes, it's always a good time, it's always enjoyable. Like there hasn't been like one flop. So like I've always made a point of like trying to travel as much as I can across the country to go to those majors, because each scene is awesome. There's great people there, and then you get to like witness great melee, great time. Like it's a great time, like every time. I'd say like one of my favorite things overall is like, as I said, like you travel to different states, and people always travel in groups, which is super cool. So you get like a couple people from Sydney, Queensland, New South Wales, and we're all just like in Adelaide for a weekend or something like that. And it's like a huge event. It's probably like 60 competitors or something like that. But like when you finally hit final Sunday, whoever wins, whoever loses, doesn't like matter a huge amount. Like you all go out for food after, you all go like to the after party or anything like that. And like there's a level of kind of like passive camaraderie and like just like satisfaction almost of just like everyone's content, like except maybe the guy who came second or whatever. But there's definitely been some anyway. It's the level of kind of like almost family, like a belonging. Just like you're around people that have all experienced a great weekend. Like you've all had a really good time. You've all spent time doing something similar. You're like completely different people, but like it's just such a nice feeling. Like it's really, really good. Like I made some of the best friends I'll have the rest of my life. Like it's like all across Australia, like internationally. Yeah, it's actually something else. And I don't know if you can find that like anywhere else. I'm sure people do. But yeah, I feel like at least in Australia we have a really special thing.
I think that's something I've experienced in esports. And I think it is always, you have a beautiful time at the event, but the after parties are always, everyone's just bonding and winding down, and obviously alcohol helps, and everyone's just having such a good fucking time. But again, the camaraderie of the, especially Victorian Smash scene, is unrivaled to anything else I've ever experienced. You guys are so inviting and so much fun.
Yeah, we're super lucky to have each other. I was saying it the other night, but yeah, it's just nice. Like, I think it's a kind of storm in a bottle, sort of saying. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining me. Do you want to plug Melbourne Melee and anything like that?
Yeah, for sure. First of all, shout out to Lachy.
Fuck yeah.
First game here, he always said I'm never going to have games at the gaming bar. It's like we'll always... We'll always... Sure, we like esports, all that kind of stuff. And then he kind of crumbled over time after like our insistence and stuff like that, host our own events. So we run 3 fighting game tournaments a month now. As of like 2022, we'll have Tekken, Guilty Gear Strive, and Melee on alternating Thursdays throughout the month. Check out ggez socials to find that out. There's a couple of majors coming up. We've got Battle Arena Melbourne in Q2 next year. We've got Phantom, which is a Sydney major. Super cool one. Actually run that with like Aiden and stuff like that.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, that'll be in Sydney, and that'll probably be like around the April time. So watch out for details. Follow ggez, Melbourne Melee.
Yeah, fuck yeah, come. They are some of the funnest, nicest people I've ever met. If you want to have a good fucking time, play some FGC, come to ggez, come play with them. And thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed episode 2. Thank you for being here. It was
Appreciate
so nice
it.
to have you on. And see you for episode 3. Cool. Fuck yeah. Nice. Good shit.
Ooh, emotion. I think you know. Surely not.
Join in.
I'm good.
Okay. Fuck, I hate you so
I'm more of an like, internalizer guy.
You just sit and listen. Okay, sorry.